Hey guys, JB the Wolf is in the house for the Wolf's Den. It's going to be an awesome podcast. I'll tell you why. Number one, someone I really like. Man named Brad Lea. Brad, how are you, my friend?
How are you?
Brad owns a company called Lightspeed VT. It's a training platform for top out there, really interactive online virtual training, handles people like myself in all industries. I'm not on his platform right now, but we're good friends. And I'll tell you, on some level, my foray really into doing the type of training online with interactivities, I saw what you were doing. We talked about it. I didn't think it was the right fit for a number of reasons, but I saw the opportunity. And you actually said, listen, there's a guy named Grant Cardone on my platform. He's doing really well. And if that guy could fucking do it, you could do it better. And that's what inspired me. So thank you.
You're welcome. And it's not over yet, bro.
No, I know.
You'll jump over eventually.
Well, we'll certainly do something together at some point, right? So now, let me do a couple things. Let's take the elephant in the room, the Grant Cardone, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you saw the Grant Cardone podcast.
I did.
Right? And you know Grant Cardone a lot better than I do.
I do.
So what do you make of that whole thing? Why did he implode? And what do you think his malfunction was? What do you think that was all about?
You know, in my opinion, it was almost as if he just wanted to make sure he did not agree with you, whatever that was. So whatever it was, I don't think he was on his game. I think he could have done a much better interview had there not been some sort of deep-seated animosity or some sort of tension. I don't know why. Maybe because you're known as a badass closer. You're known the Wolf of Wall Street, and maybe that offends his sensibilities, self-imposed title of, the best closer in the world, which he's not, definitely.
It came pretty apparent.
Well, not only that, I mean, like I started out training salespeople, and I'm probably the best there is, period. And he
next to me.
Well, again, arguably, but hey,
the point is, there's a lot of great sales trainers out
100%.
there, and I love having because I want to talk about sales because you can learn from every. I would learn from you, learn from me, right? So, there you go.
I think that's what it was. Like he came in offended because you're known for having a skill that is in his arena, and I think that hurt him in this particular case.
Do you think that there's like some level of paranoia there? It's like, no, because I came to the table with him I think it was pretty obvious. No motives other than let's have a great podcast. Let's talk about selling. And even the most simple questions ended up in like some insane spot where he was talking nonsense. See, my theory is that he often spews nonsense, but no one challenges him on his nonsense. They say, wow, that must be, it didn't make sense to me, but it must be so profound. Maybe I didn't get it. And I was like, whoa, no, that's not profound. It just doesn't make sense. So he was challenged. He couldn't really back up what he was saying. You think that was part of it at all?
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, most people are just, oh my God, it's Grant. He's got a jet.
Right,
you're not that way.
Right, I was like,
you could care less who it is. You were just asking simple questions,
right?
He should have had simple answers.
Right.
Like, no interest is a level of interest. Like, I don't get that whole thing. Like, that sounds like a date raper.
Yeah,
like no interest is a level of interest. Now, I understand his mindset when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, dude, you were trying to say, look, if someone doesn't have interest, when should you move on?
Exactly.
Like, and
most basic question in sales.
Yeah, and there is an answer to that, and it's not no interest is a level of interest. I think again, he was just trying to oppose whatever it is you were saying.
I'll tell you a story. So, friend of mine, good friend, Brett Ratner, right, famous director. He got me too. I love the guy, great guy. He tells a story about how when he was first coming to Hollywood many years ago, he wrote letters to Steven Spielberg, Ridley Scott, Tony Scott, all the top, Francis Ford Coppola, right, the top 20 directors, right? And Steven Spielberg sent him back a letter saying, I'm not interested right now, nothing for you right now, but, thanks for letting me, good luck in your career. He goes, well, now I could say he knew who I was. I was on his radar. That's a very different thing. So what you're talking about is an ultra-qualified person in his target market who now said, I'm not interested now, but they're a qualified buyer, while he was saying, I don't care if they don't want, I'll sell them something else. It was a completely different. I think it's awareness versus interest. He was misrepresented. It's awareness. Yeah, there can be levels of awareness. They don't know you. Well, at least they now know who I am. That's about awareness, not interest. As a salesperson, the biggest mistake, tell me if you think this is true or not, right? You probably see what you're on, and you have salesmen, right? The biggest mistake I see most salespeople make is they try to shove square pegs in round holes. They'll try to speak to someone who's never going to buy. It's like after the first 2 or 3 minutes, you've asked them some qualified questions. They don't have the money. They don't have the interest, and they're still trying to take a no and turn it into a yes. My point is that as a salesperson, we don't take no's and turn it into yeses. We take, let me think about it, let me call you back, bad time of year, not liquid right now, turn those into yeses. What do you say about that?
Well, I think the difference between a salesperson and a closer, because in my opinion, there's a distinct difference. A closer comes in when someone says no. A salesperson doesn't get a no. Like, for example, if I were to take you at the lot or, pick you up and go try to sell you something, and there wasn't really a no along the way, and I sold you, I didn't really close the deal. So a salesperson doesn't really get no's. They just write orders. I sold you this house. You came over, you looked at it, you gave me an offer, I sold you the house.
And you wouldn't pay someone a lot of money for that because it's like basically taking people who already have bought, presenting, and they buy versus someone that overcomes the people who are on the fence, right? Is that what I mean?
So when someone says no, or I have to think about it and turns it into a yes, that's a closer.
Right.
And there's a difference. I have a specific technique that I use every single time that works, but I think the biggest mistake salespeople make is they don't realize that everybody is not a sale. You can't close everybody.
Exactly.
And nor should you even try. The whole question you were leading with.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, like
pretty basic concept, right?
Here's what I teach my guys on the phone. First of all, when you're on the phone, it's a big difference. You can't see body language. There's a lot of differences. But so one thing is I say, get them on the phone. That's step one, right? That's hard enough nowadays. Get them on the damn phone.
Right.
Step two, qualify them. And again, it's not a rude thing to qualify them. I'm saving you time by doing that. And I'm saving my time. And guess what? Time is valuable. So I want to qualify you. Mm-hmm. If you qualify, then I'm going to move into an irresistible offer. Mm-hmm. Most salespeople do not make an irresistible offer. They just sit there and tell you about all the features and benefits of their products, and they very rarely make an offer.
All right, just hold that thought for one moment, and let's hear from our sponsors to pay the bills. All right, let's talk about your mental health. Listen, guys, I have been in therapy throughout my life, off and on. I'm going through it right now because I'm going through some tough times personally, right? There's nothing better than just having someone who's trained, you can trust, someone that you know is not going to disclose your secrets, that you're bound by confidentiality, to talk about things. It just makes you feel better. Why not be happy? So listen, if you're feeling anxiety, depression, anger management issues, relationship problems, whatever it might be, any OCD issues you have, right? Why not seek out an expert? But by using BetterHelp.com, you no longer have to use that old model. You have to drive somewhere, waste your time, sit in an office, meet other people in the people don't really like that, right? With BetterHelp.com, it's all done either online, through phone, text, video, you get it? So you get to communicate with a licensed, trained professionals, 3,000 of them. They focus on everything you can imagine here. So there's all different types of expertise in there, right? If you don't like your therapist, you can switch it, no cost, to another therapist. But BetterHelp.com allows you at a fraction of the cost that it would normally cost you by going to a therapist on the outside. Use BetterHelp.com. BetterHelp.com, you get a 10% discount for being a listener of the Wolf's Den here, okay? That's 10% of your first month. Discount code WOLF. Enter that on the website, okay? So get started today with BetterHelp.com/wolf. Simply fill out the questionnaire. They can assess your needs right there. You'll get matched with a counselor. Again, that's BetterHelp.com/wolf. All right, Stamps.com, one of my favorite sponsors. Listen, I hate going to the post office. I'm sure you don't like it either, right? If you're a business owner, even an individual, small business, medium-sized business, you could ship tons of packages every day. No point to go to the post office anymore. Stamps.com brings the post office to you. Get 5 cents off every first class letter you ship, discounts on packages. But I'll just tell you this, the timing here, it's the amount of time that you save by simply not having to go to the post office anymore. Essentially, what they're doing is turning your office into a post office. What could be better than that, all right? Let me give you the details here. You save tons of money. No risk here, okay? Go to Stamps.com, all right? Sign up here. especially for the holiday season, all the shipping you're going to do, right? No risk. Use my promo code WOLF. You get a special offer that includes a 4-week free trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long commitments, no contracts. You're not signing anything for the long term. You want to check out stamps.com. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage. Type in Wolf. Again, that's stamps.com. Enter Wolf. Why waste your time going to the post office? I love my mailman, and I respect the people who run the post office, but they got to come to me or do it yourself through stamps.com. Tell me, define an irresistible offer in terms of a value proposition, urgency. Can you get more specific on that?
Well, an irresistible offer is I'm going to do something for you that I hopefully is irresistible in exchange for X. So like most people say, asking for the sale. A lot of salespeople blow your mind. Don't even ask for the sale. They
dance around it, but don't really flat say, here's what I think you should do, or do this. Here's what I recommend.
Yeah,
right?
like if you qualified, I would say, Jordan, here's what I would like. I would like you to do this in exchange for this. What do you say?
Right. So the way I like it, it's like the family physician. Like when you go to an expert, at a certain point, an expert who's there to solve a problem will ask you questions. You answer the expert. They say, okay, well, based on what you said, here's my so-called prescription. I want you to do. Here's the way it works. Here's how you get started. Boom. It's like a direct, right? That's what experts do versus, I think, novice salespeople, they have this like mental block. They think it's rude or something, or they're embarrassed, or they don't. Or, here's another one. I think many of them are just so scared to get the hard no or not interested. They don't want to actually ask, because if they do, then that has to start the back. The way I talk about it is the front half, back half. So, first time you ask for the order, everything before that's the front half of the sale, right? Everything you said, correct. Introduce yourself, take control, qualify, present, right? Make the offer, so to speak, irresistible one, right? You ask for the offer, ask for the order. Well, what happens? They could say what? Yes, no, or maybe. To me, maybe is all the objections. Let me think about it. Let me call you back. Those are all maybes in my mind, right? So the way I look, if someone says, no, I'm not interested, you don't really get that much. Because if you did your job qualifying, right, you kind of weeded those not interested. Should have, right? Yeah. So you very seldom one slips through. But when someone really is a hard no, yeah, I'll give it a college try. But that's, to me, is really no, kind of like date rape. No, right? But
in my book, yeah. Now again, I've taken a lot. I've taken a lot of no's and moved them to yeses.
Yes. But you know what I'm saying, though. Generally speaking, the better ones, the real, like, to me, is what you're saying is such a valid point. It's like, I'm not going to pay someone who takes people who are already going to say yes and recites a few facts and says, and they buy. That's a transaction. That's not an influence sale, right?
Not at all.
What we pay people for, okay, all great sale owners and sales managers, right, is to take someone who says, sounds really good. Let me think about it.
Yeah. Sounds
really good. I got to talk to my wife. Sounds really good. Bad time. Those are the ones, right?
Well, that's
the magic.
That's where the real money comes in.
Exactly. So your distinction between one is a salesperson, so a closer is someone, I look at the first one as an order taker almost, right?
Me too.
An order taker.
That's exactly what I call them.
Yeah, order takers, right? And the second one's a salesperson / closer, an influencer, someone that takes someone that's not quite there, not quite certain, and closes the deal, right? Do you have a system that you teach have a name, or is it a specific name, or just a set of principles?
Well, I call it logic selling.
So logic-based selling?
Well, logic is an acronym.
Okay.
It basically stands for leverage, obvious gain, intelligence, and common sense. So it just spells the word logic, but it is logic based.
Break it down. So start at the beginning. So
like you leverage obvious gain. What is the obvious gain for you to buy my product? A lot of times people will not ask enough questions or listen to the answers properly to find out what you value and what pain you're having. And then most people don't understand that they keep talking about the gain when in reality it's the fear of loss that drives somebody. So there's both. So when you leverage obvious gain, the gain could be a fear of loss also.
So in other words, some people are motivated by fear of loss. Others are motivated. I think everyone's both, but some people have a predominant modality where they'll really the fear of loss, they're a loss, they're fear-based motivated, right?
Yeah.
That's what get them going. Other people are more, reward-based. But I think everyone has some
Yeah. So when I close people on my system versus all the other crap that's out there, because anything else out there is crap.
Except for what? The straight line system?
Well, not a sales system. I'm talking about my training system.
Oh, training system.
The training technology.
Got it. Okay.
Everything else out there is a
And
video
it is good.
hosting
Your training
solution.
system is very good.
Thank you. But it's a hosting solution. Anything else other than mine's an actual learning system, the only one out there. So when I get people to switch from what they are to mine, I usually use the fear of loss, meaning what you're doing right now, let's say you're doing $1 million a month on your own. Well, you could be doing 2 or 3 with me. So you're losing a couple million a month by not using Lightspeed. And then they're always like, how? Now, if I say I can make you a couple $1 million a month on Lightspeed, for some reason, they don't believe it. It's not as motivating as they're losing $2 million. You're leaving $2 million on the table. For some reason, that motivates them. But the leverage obvious gain can go either way. The gain could be not losing.
So let's talk about, let's just separate this out. There's 2 things. You do sales training.
Yep.
Like you're a sales trainer by nature, but then what you realized was that you could actually leverage your own sales training by developing some sort of delivery system, right?
Yeah.
That would allow you to essentially to train remotely, as you call it. And you think you came with the term virtual training, right?
That's right.
So how would you explain virtual training versus regular online training? What would be the distinction between the two?
Well, usually online training just simply means that they've recorded a video and put it online behind a password. But that's not training. That's watching a video. And I watch mixed martial arts. Doesn't make me a fucking black belt. So it's not really training. Training requires 4 ingredients. See, when I started this whole thing, here's how it started. I was running a car dealership and I was training top salespeople. I could take somebody that was flipping hamburgers, turn them into a freaking badass closer. I just trained them. I just trained a lot of times, the leadership, the culture, the camaraderie, it was all part of the appeal. However, there was a lot porter in the back of the dealership, Mexican dude. He had a beautiful family, nice guy, hard-working son of a bitch like you wouldn't believe.
Right.
But man, was he having it rough because he was only making minimum wage, washing cars. He worked harder than any salesman out there. And I just freaking felt bad for him. So I said, hey, let me show you how to sell and close. So he barely spoke English, but he did. He spoke English, but barely. So I brought him up and I taught him how to freaking close. Within 3 months, he was making 15 grand a month. His wife was happier. His kids were happier. Like you could see it in their faces.
How long ago is this about? How many years back is this now?
20.
Okay.
So it just got me addicted that like, man, I can change someone's life like that. So I said, I'm going to quit my job. I was making maybe $400,000 or $500,000 a year. And up till then, I was about 30 years old. Up till then, all I worried about was me. How can I get more? How can I get more? It was always about me. I was a selfish prick. All I cared about was how do I get more? I never worried about other people. Like, shit, if I'm going to close you and get paid,
I got it.
that's all I cared about. I'm going to close you to get paid. I didn't care whether you were benefited or not. So anyway, after this, I call it like a little revelation, like, damn, this is cool. I can do this. I quit my job and I said, I'm going to start a trading company. So I went out on the road to train my training, which was massively effective. And so that was the logic base and this thing I developed called the Real Deal Lease Presentation, which is used all over the country.
What's that?
It's a way to present a lease to get anyone to flip to a lease versus a buy.
In the auto industry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or any industry, but it's just
any equipment leasing, medical, yeah.
Yeah. Anytime anyone would be opposed to leasing, I would present them my custom created lease presentation.
Okay.
And I started teaching that and my logic selling. So it just like we were the number 1 Dodge store in the country, even though we weren't the biggest, we made the most money. We leased the most cars. Like it was powerful shit. So anyway, I quit that and I went out to go do it on the road. So I was having people pay me $10,000 to show up and train their sales team for a day. And I'm thinking, man, shit, I can make a lot more money. I can make a couple $100,000 a month this way. And I can help people. So I started focusing on helping other people. But when I went out on the road, it wasn't working as well. I couldn't figure out why the people I'm training are not kicking ass like before. So I'm sitting there thinking, I got to quit either charging $10,000 a day because I'm not really training their people. And if I know I'm not really delivering value, for some reason, I won't take your money unless I know that the trade's there.
And it's not sustainable anyway, right? How long could that last, right? You'll burn it. Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't last, but
Right.
but ethically, I have an issue with it. So I want to make sure if you pay me, I don't care what, you can pay me millions of dollars, but I want to make sure you got that value. So this wasn't happening. And I'm thinking, man, I got to quit doing this, which now I'm screwed. I quit my job. I'm like, shit. So I tried to figure out what's the difference? Why is it not working? And so I did research and I started comparing what did I used to do versus now. And there's 4 ingredients that became relevant and evident. And that I just went, holy shit, this is it.
What were they?
Well, number one, you have to have good content, right? Which I had. But a lot of times companies are training people with piss poor content. And so it doesn't work anyway. But even if you have good content, if you train them effectively to do it wrong, they'll do it wrong. So you have to have good content. Then you need repetition. Most people miss that. Most companies miss that.
Yes.
Repetition is key. Then you need practice. Just because I'm learned doesn't mean I can actually implement it and execute it. So you have to have practice and role play. And then you have to have accountability, which most people just do not have whatsoever. So the 4 ingredients are good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. Well, I fixed it by doing it, but now I'm staying longer, doing more, and I couldn't do it. So I thought I have to invent a way to not be living on the road.
Right.
I didn't want to be living out of a suitcase. So,
and this is 1999 almost, right? So
99.
Bandwidth speeds are slower back then, right? A whole
internet just came out.
Yeah, right.
Nobody was training online.
Right.
Believe it or not, like I tried to do research, and I don't know everybody, but I'm pretty sure I started the whole fucking online learning. Like no one was doing it when I did it.
I know. Well, I didn't get into it till 2010. Even then, it was mostly still videos. You'd send people like a box of DVDs.
Well, people are just getting videos.
Yeah. It was unbelievable, right?
Yeah, I mean, like,
so I doubted 1999. It was so. How did you do it? So okay, so let's tell it in chronology because the bandwidth was very slow, buffering, right?
Yeah.
So what did you do?
Well, I looked around forever, and first I tried to make interactive CD-ROMs. And I went to sell those CD-ROMs for $10,000, and people would say no, or they'd buy them and then they would scratch them and want a new set. Well, shit, I was buying them from a company for $200 each, no, $100 each, and so I couldn't just keep replacing them every time they scratched them. Not to mention, only one person could go through them at a time.
Right.
So the CD-ROMs were not effective. And I used to give out a money-back guarantee. I said, if this doesn't increase your sales and closing, I'll give you your money back. And to car dealers, they're notorious for wanting a deal and grinding your balls off. So, I mean, if you can close car dealers, dude, that's major. So like if you don't pick the car business, if you want to go in and try to close people, they will literally tell you to come in Thursday. That's their day off. So you go there and you wait around eight hours and find out, oh, today's their day off. And they literally think it's funny. So anyway, long story short, I came out with these CD-ROMs. I had a money back guarantee, and somebody asked me, and I told them, the disclaimer was, I have to make sure that they actually know the information.
For those young people who don't know what CD-ROMs are, it was actually like a special type of CD that had more information. It was like a DVD almost, right? But it had like more information. It was only for a computer, interactive, right? So that's what you did.
It was interactive.
Yeah.
So
it was on a DVD. It was like a DVD size, right?
It looks like that.
Yeah.
But a DVD was not interactive.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So it was a CD-ROM.
Interactive DVDs. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, someone wanted their money back. I didn't even have the money to fly down. It was a California dealer. Didn't even have the money to fly down to test them to see if they knew my material, because in order to get your money back, they had to prove that everybody actually went through the training.
Yeah.
So I flew down. I had to borrow money to fly down to see if I owed the person 10 grand back, which I hoped to God I didn't, because I didn't have it, dude. I didn't have the money. I didn't even have the money to fly down there. So I flew down there. The guy made me wait 4 hours. I could see him in his office. He's got one of them glass offices. I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. Missed my flight, my return flight. I made the wrong assumption. Anyway, long story short, he freaking made me wait. I finally walked in. He said, "Hey, did you bring my check?" I said, "Well, I need to make sure people know my material first." And he said, "Yeah, well, how do you want to do that?" I said, "Well, pick a couple of your best salespeople." So he looks out the window and waves a couple of his best salespeople in. They walk in. I said, "Hey, Brad Lea." Now, I started to feel pretty good about it because when they walked in, they didn't know who I was. And I'm the guy on the fucking CD-ROM. So if they didn't know who I was, that was a good sign.
Right.
So they walked in. I said, "Hey, I'm Brad Lea," and they didn't know.
This is the accountability issue you're talking about.
Exactly. So I said, "Tell me, give me the real deal lease presentation." Now, the real deal lease presentation starts out a particular way. It's like the ABCs. If I said, tell me your ABCs, you either know them or you don't.
Right.
Like I can find out in 2 seconds.
Why don't you give me the short story? What is it real quick? What is it?
The lease presentation?
Yeah, real quick.
Well, it starts out particularly by saying to the customer, look, I don't care if you lease or purchase. So if you don't say that to begin with, then you're not doing it.
Right. That's your segue in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time.
Got it.
Yeah, that's how it starts. Because most
let
people
me
say,
say
oh, I
this.
don't want to lease. And I'd say, look, I don't care if you lease or purchase. We get cash from the bank either way. So that's the beginning.
Yeah.
So I said, tell me the real deal lease presentation. And they couldn't.
Right.
Within 5 seconds, the GM realized that they don't know my shit. So he said, all right, thanks for coming in. And so basically, I don't owe him the money anymore. But now I got to call to get back because there was a $100 fee to change my flight, which I missed because the prick made me wait.
Yeah.
Anyway, so long story short, man, I freaking didn't have to pay him back. I flew back, and on the way back, I'm thinking, dude, I can't afford. I had probably 40 CD-ROMs out there with this guarantee, and I couldn't afford to fly and test people. So that's when I said, I got to take this online.
Yeah.
So I looked around. There was no one out there. The guy that made my CD-ROMs, which was pretty badass developer, said there's only one person or one company that I know of. They do all the shit for the movie business. They're damn near, inventors of AOL type shit. Like, this is a big group. And I said, well, who are they? So they gave me the name. And I went down there and I explained what I wanted. They said, it's not really going to work. I argued with them. I basically said, dude, it's a fucking computer. Just do your thing. So I talked the guy into making me my first version, which was only so I could see who was going through the training.
I get it.
So it was I could see it. I didn't do it so they could see it. Mm-hmm. So I got it online, and then I started selling it. And then one day a dealer told me that he would look at my training, decide if he wanted to buy it. And so he called me and he said, it doesn't really match what they're doing. And I already hit the button and saw that he didn't train. And I said, well, so how do you know? He says, well, I went through your content. I said, no, you didn't. He said, how do you know that? I said, because look, I showed him the report on my freaking computer, and he's like, shit, could I see that if my salesmen are lying to me? I said, yeah. He goes, I can pick up a check in the morning. And he bought the thing for that reason. So I built the system for me to deliver my training. Well, what happened was I went out there and I got to maybe 80, 90 dealerships at $1,000 a month. So I was making good money, 80, 90,000 a month, or I thought it was good money back then. And I just kept running into people saying, we use Joe Verdi, or, that's Grant Cardone's competitor. We use Joe Verdi, or we use this other person, or we use Grant Cardone. And I kept thinking like, I'm better than them. You got to give me a chance. But rather than beg, I thought to myself, I can either compete with these guys or collaborate with these guys. So I just decided to go approach those guys. And I said, look, I've got a technology that'll allow you to train people better. Yeah. I already know companies that want your training, so I can even get you the deal because they've already told me they like you, for example. So I came to them with the technology and the customers, and I said, look, I'll take my name and training out of it. Sure. I'll put your name and training in it, and I'll just take what I call a piece for my niece, a little sliver to deliver, a fraction of the action. And they said, yeah. So we created their systems, and they went and sold those businesses and a whole bunch more. And I just came out of the training business and kind of just supported the training people. So I went and closed Zig Ziglar and Tom Hopkins and, Grant Cardone and Joe Verdi and a million people you haven't heard of, Tony Robbins. And it just kept going, and everyone just kept using it.
And did you find that some of those, did it work right away? Were there blips along the way, pivots you had to make? What was the big, obviously the current version of what you have now is obviously very different than what you started with, right?
Yeah.
You've updated it.
It's different since you've even seen it.
What's that?
It's different.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what was those? Were there did you have any? So was it like right away it worked, or did you have to keep tweaking it? Were there any major tweaks that you made that kind of revelate? For instance, the interactivity. You didn't stop. Did you start with interactivity?
Yeah,
you started.
That's what's crazy. Like, people are just now getting video online, thinking that they're cutting edge, and I'm like, bro, video.
Right.
Like, first of all, think about this. Why would you pay money to drive people to a video that just plays? And people are like, what do you mean? Well, because they don't know any different. A video doesn't have to just play. It can ask questions, it can adapt, it can make offers, it can mine data that you don't currently get.
Yep.
So right now, if I were to look at your marketing, I promise you, you're driving people to a video. If you sell a system that's not interactive, truly interactive, people are going through your course and they're not being asked anything, and it's not adapting, it's not doing anything other than talking. And the problem is people are different. So unless the system can adapt and determine who's logging in, what level they're at, et cetera, they're not going to learn as well. But most importantly, you're not also going to do anything. So most people right now, they make a funnel that drives to a course. Why not make the course the funnel? So I can sell you a course for $99 and you go through it, and I ended up selling you a $15,000 mastermind package. But not everybody, because everyone doesn't have 15 grand.
I get it. Right.
So that interactivity embedded within the curriculum is really more engaging. It makes people learn better, retain better, but it also extrapolates more data and revenue from that same user without additional marketing expenses.
So how much of the interactivity, because I put interactivity in mine, so it was a great thing, right? And I use it. How much of it is about just keeping people engaged? In other words, because if you don't ask them questions, right, after a while, engagement starts to fall, right?
For sure.
So how much of it is sometimes just making sure people are answering to make sure or versus really how many tweaks can you make with different content? It's really more about engagement. Which do you think is the bigger part of interactivity? Is it really about changing the learning as much, or more about making sure people constantly are engaged in it and so forth?
Well, engagement is key for sure.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Like, dude, I'm
with that myself.
I'm the wolf of training. Trust
No,
me.
because I struggle myself with that. I was like, how much I want to make sure that I always am asking a question every so often, because if you don't, people.
Well, not only that, but they retain more simply because they're listening more.
Right.
See, so if I hit play on your video, and most videos are not interactive, but if you hit play on the video, after 4 or 5 minutes, my phone goes off, my daughter runs in the room, whatever, I'm not even listening, but then it finishes and you think I learned, when in reality, I wasn't even listening. So to have an interactive segment that says, hey, by the way, are you this? And it won't go any further until you answer it, means to this person, damn, I better listen. So just because they consciously listen because they know it's interactive, they actually retain more. We've measured it's like 300% more retention.
It's a huge number, right?
Yeah, with minor interactivity. There's studies on it. You can go to like Oxford. There's white papers everywhere on engagement like that.
So,
but that's not the value.
Okay.
The value to a guy like you and a guy like me, engagement's cool. But if you're gonna sell a course for, let's say, $1,000, you know, inside of that course, if you're putting 1,000 people through it, you can ask questions, collect data that's valuable that you're not getting unless you embed it within your courseware gracefully. And then you're able to make offers and upsells to the individuals that picked and chose the right answer. So you could drive 1 million people to a video for $10 and make $10 million. I'll take your same course, you drive the same people, and I'll extrapolate another $2 to $4 million. So on my system, you'll make 14 million, when on yours, you'll make 10.
Right.
And that's a big difference.
Got it. So was that originally, so when you were was this in the early days, or that sort of evolved into that?
No, it was from day one. Now, when I started I only wanted to engage them, and I wanted to emulate what I did in real life, because in real life, I ask questions. So like, I'd be like, how many cars have you sold? And if they said 2, well, then I know they need more training.
Let me stop. So when you created Lightspeed, the platform, right? So these guys, you can check it out. Lightspeed VT, it's a great platform, right? So when you had these 4 things that you kind of, and you said, okay, it's about, number 1, the content.
Got to have good content.
All right. And the second one was what? The actual repetition, right? So that was the problem of when you're just showing up at a car dealership once, right? That without video. So and the third part was the role playing, the training. And 4th, accountability, right? So when you created the actual platform, you did it with those 4 things in mind to address, right? So in the beginning, right? Because right now, tell me the top 3 features of like what really makes it awesome. Interactivity is 1, right? 2, accountability, right? So tell me about the accountability aspect.
Well, everything's being tracked, measured, and monitored in real time. So I don't have to come in and find out if someone learned or didn't learn. I can press a button and see a report. I can also have those reports triggered to me. So like managers are busy, or at least they claim they are. So if they're busy and they don't have time to look at reports, especially if you have 5,000 salespeople across the country, you're not looking at report cards all day. So you can set up triggers because it's real-time tracking on everything, to where if someone doesn't log in, text me. Or if someone presses this button, text me. Or if someone fails, text me.
Right.
So it can text real people to take real intervention, because I think the perfect scenario is a blend. Online's not as good as a blend. In other words, people would rather have you show up for a day, and then when you leave, give them passwords to get the repetition and the practice and the accountability, because the company can't afford you for 90 days.
Yeah.
But if I virtualize what Jordan Belfort would have done with my team, would have asked my team, well, then now I can have that individual on my staff for a couple $1,000 a month, depending on the size of my staff. So like if I were working for you, I'd be calling companies, not people, like individuals. They don't keep paying. Businesses do.
Sure, right. That's a funnel thing. B2C is like you advertise, they buy, it's great, but that's not really the long-term value.
No,
I agree,
if you're out,
1,000%.
Yeah, you need to be focusing on businesses, and see
100%.
that's another thing my platform's ideal for. It's B2B, because our system can brand itself a million different ways, segment itself in different categories and regions and zones. No other system can do that.
Explain that. What do you mean?
Like for example, if I were to close a car dealership with 9 stores, I'd give them 9 systems by pressing a button on mine, and now they all have their own individual system, even though it's all one system. So I can create a million different user experiences based on one platform.
Got it.
Other platforms, if I log into yours, I'm going to see pretty much what everyone else sees, mostly. But I can for B2B, business to business, I can give them a brand, their own branding, their own content roles based on their positions, but then sell this person where it's different and make it different, where it's the same content but delivered differently.
How much of your business is people like myself or trainers versus companies using it like for their own internal training stuff? They want to get it like, so they have training and they just want to put their own training on your platform.
Yeah. Well, we started with guys like you, the experts that were going out and training people. And then once the Grants and the Tonys and the Zig Ziglars started selling their content to companies, the companies started calling saying, hey, well, we love your platform. We have, let's say, Grant Cardone. Well, we love it, but we have more people to train than just salespeople. So like we have sexual harassment. Do you have any sexual harassment? So they started calling me for more content, right, or make their own. Right. So now we have probably 60%, I call them subject matter experts, which are it's a gen license that we sell. We have about 60-40 now, but we just recently started focusing on businesses. So now we're rapidly signing up 200 to 300 companies a month that are logging in just to train their 10, 20, 30, 50 people. We've got big...
On anything, right? It could be on anything.
Yeah. And not only that, then I took all my experts, which I have the biggest library of all the top-notch experts on planet Earth, in the system. So literally I created what's called a skill shop. So the skill shop is a marketplace that has all of the top name of interactive training, and goes from sexual harassment all the way to sales, how to cook, how to play poker with the top poker pros, like pretty much anything.
So you want the Cake Boss, right? That guy?
Yeah, Cake Boss. That's right,
Boss.
Buddy Velastro. So this marketplace is making it even better, because now a company, they
choose actually go in there like a shopping cart. They just go in and see what they want.
Or need. So they can make their own, which they should. We show them how to do that. We've got all the services if they don't have them available. So they can customize basically the platform to make it their own, and then have access to all the expertise they wouldn't normally make, like sexual harassment. Companies aren't going to do that. Some bigger ones might have their own legal firms, but mostly they don't. Right. So they can just turn on sexual harassment. And nowadays in California, New York, a few other states, it's mandatory to train your people on harassment, sexual harassment. And some of the courses we have are better than everybody else's, because most sexual harassment teach you what you can't do. We made one that teaches you what you can do.
What can you do?
What you can get away with.
What can you? I'll tell you, it's Stratton back in the good old days is like, wow. You
guys were a walking violation.
It was like the human resources man. Girls, short skirts, high heels.
Dude, those were the days. Now, and by the way,
there's no harassment. I'll tell you what, the girls didn't get harassed. They were loving. In our case, It was if someone harassed a girl, they would get fired. They would get beaten up probably by the other guys because there was respect for the girls.
Yeah.
Everyone was young and wild. It was very different.
That's the way it should be.
I know exactly. It wasn't a harassment situation because it just wasn't like.
Yeah, but that's the way it should be.
It was
nowadays we got a lot of weirdness. Like
I agree.
The masculinity is gone. You know, the entitlement and the it's stupid. Like,
you know what my partner used to say to me? She'd say, what's the worst is that when I was younger, I'm like, you know, you like someone, like you get dressed up to come to work because you like for someone, like you had this all little tension in the workplace, right? It was fun and people would meet on the job. It's like, dude, how do you do that these days? You can't, it's like not safe anymore, right? You have to go to these freaking dating apps. It's like, I don't think the world is better because of that. Now, granted, that's very different than like the casting couch shit here in Hollywood. Where like,
dude, see, I don't agree. Yeah. Like, dude, look, if I'm a big director, and I control who gets the part, and you want the part, and I say, hey, you got to blow me to get the part. It's a choice. Now, making you blow me is not cool. But to say, hey, I control this. Would you like it? Well, then blow me. That's called tit for tat. Now, do I condone it? Well, no. But if the girl does it willingly, that's up to those two people.
Well.
Like, dude, for the right part, I might blow the person.
The problem with
I'll play
devil's advocate with that. The problem with that is I think you're onto something here in the sense that I think the biggest victims in the whole thing were not the girls that got parts and gave blowjobs. It's those that didn't. Those that were married happily or just would not play that game. They couldn't get the part. It was unfair to them. So they would
unfair. Like,
yeah.
See, I don't. Dude, this is just me.
No, I get it. Aaron's your opinion.
But in my opinion is, I don't think, like, I think we were taught wrong, like, to be fair. I don't want to be fair. I want to be unfair. I want to have the advantage in everything. Don't you? Like, if someone said, hey, you can walk in with the knowledge of everything that's going to go on, wouldn't you want that knowledge?
Yes, I do. But
that's unfair. Yeah, that's not fair.
The difference is, though, is I've always believed in like an egalitarian and a meritocracy, that the cream rises to the top, right? And that, like, you know, someone that works really hard or someone that's the best actress, not someone that's going to give me a blowjob for my temporary gratification should get the part. That's just me. If I like that, so
I agree with that. However, the director that's getting the blowjobs might be making shitty movies because it's who's sucking their dick that matters, where your movies would be better and more successful because you're hiring talent.
Right. But then here's the other part of that.
But I'm not mad at the director because the girl said yes. Right. Like, well, how is that a problem?
Well, because you have girls that, you know, if someone with a lot of power like Harvey Weinstein, right, is a big fat.
What about male porn? There's dudes in male porn that say they're not gay, but they do it because they make more money.
Right. That's a choice they make to get paid.
Again, I'm not mad at them either. But the whole point is like, look, everybody's has their own opinion and the ability to make a decision. And if your decision is, hey, I'm gonna do this in exchange for something, I just don't think it's anyone's business but those two people. That's
question. You have a daughter. How old's your daughter?
Which one? I have 4.
Oldest.
32.
Okay. Let's say how old is your young one?
4.
4. Okay. Let's say 4. She's now 19.
Yeah.
15
I'm
years.
dreading the day.
Listen, I'm sure she's beautiful, right?
She is.
I know she is. All right. She comes to Hollywood, right? And she's incredibly talented. She works her ass off, does everything right. She gets into a room with some animal like Harvey Weinstein, who says, "Listen, if you want the part, blow me, or else I'm going to blackball you in this town." What do you say to that?
I would hope I raised her to have enough self-love and self-worth that she could say no and realize that she doesn't really need that.
Right. And I good point. But what about Harvey Weinstein? Like, does that guy deserve to stay in power, or should he be somehow, you know?
Well, he's a dirtbaag in my opinion.
Right. Of course. And I know you don't mean that you condone this. What I'm saying is
definitely.
I understand the point. I'm trying to dig deeper into that because it's a big deal out here. In other words,
I don't condone it.
Right. I get that. But the point is that, like, what do you do with a guy like that? Should that guy be shamed out of power like he was?
I think if he were to continue to do what he's doing, eventually he would be, if everyone else had ethics and morals, because eventually nobody would fucking audition for him.
You know what I think?
He'd go out of business automatically.
Here's what I think. I think that, you know, my problem with the Me Too was it was an overshoot. Like, you know, there had to be some corrections here because there was shit going on that wasn't right. But like everything else, like, you know, all of a sudden now people are being falsely accused or for shit they did 15 years ago when there was no proof, and the guy loses his job and his life. without anybody. So yeah, that's not good. But in my opinion, I saw some stuff out here. Like I have a daughter, she's 26, and you're right. I raised her in a way she'd walk out the door. Fuck you, I'm not blowing it.
We would hope.
Right. You know, I know if my daughter would, I know she would. Okay, I'm sure yours would in 15 years from now, right?
I'm hoping.
Yeah, right. But there's many girls, you know, they come from, it's like their life's ambition. They come from Iowa or somewhere like me, and they're not as savvy, and they get taken advantage of. To me, that had to change. It was wrong, and it created a situation. Trust me, I hate the whole Me Too thing, but that to me had to change. So anyway,
well, if I had a choice, you know, do you want pervs in power or not? It would be not.
of course, right?
However, we're never going to change that.
Yeah,
There's always going to be whack jobs and pervs out there. I just don't think. I mean, how do we know who's telling the truth?
that's the problem.
Yeah, so like, how do you know who was it? I forget who blew him. Like Scarlett Johansson or something.
No. It was oh fuck. No, it wasn't Scarlett Johansson.
Whoever it was.
Scarlett. It was. I know it wasn't you.
Listen, how do you know? Yeah, but listen, and I know people are going to hate me, especially in Hollywood, for saying this. But how do you know that person didn't say, "Come on, Harvey, I'll blow you"? And now they're saying, "Oh, he made me blow him," when it wasn't even the truth.
You know Brett Ratner.
No.
Brett Ratner's famous director here, okay? He was financing half of the budget of every Warner Brothers picture.
Yeah.
Very nice friend of mine, okay? He was Me Too'd really badly. I know for a fact, okay, I saw the texts from all the girls who were saying, Brett, I love you, let's do it. And then they would accuse him of harassment. Yeah. These are girls that are actively pursuing him to try to get parts. And, you know, and listen, I always say Brett's a womanizer. He's Brett, right? You know, maybe I'm dating my own daughter, but it was a complete, like they were really complicit in the whole thing. So that's what you're talking about. Yeah. It's like that situation.
Well, you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't know, it's just not, to me, again, like if you're gay, cool. If you're a lesbian, cool. If you want to blow someone for a job, cool. If you don't, cool. Like, I just think everyone has their own opinion, and I respect them all. Mm-hmm. But the media says Harvey Weinstein's a pig. Here's what he did. I don't necessarily know that that's what happened. Who says? Who was there? Yeah. It's he said, she said. But if someone were to say, Brad, would you want your daughter dealing with someone like that? Of course not.
Right.
But if that's all the people that are in Hollywood,
well, I think
what do you do?
I think Harvey Weinstein is like this extreme example of someone who he was a pig. Everyone knows it. I know people directly were involved. They said it was true. He was fucking off his rocker, right?
And guess what happened?
And he's going to jail, hopefully.
There you go.
Right.
So but that was my point. Yeah. It'll correct itself.
But for many years it didn't. So at least now, but I think it overshot. Let me ask you a different question. Let's talk about politics now, right? I mean, what do you think about the world?
You're getting me in deep, aren't you?
I'm getting you in deep. Now, I want to know, because you're a smart guy.
You're going to hate me after this.
No one's going to. I know. You're entitled to your opinions, okay? So what are your thoughts on, like, the whole division? Like, I know in my heart there's something wrong right now. I have never seen the world, our country, so divided. Like, I've never seen it like this. When I was, you're a few years younger than me, right? But not much. And you remember, like, you had Republicans, you had Democrats. It was two sides of the same coin. One side meant 5% more taxes, a little more regulation. It was mostly 6 of one, right? Now it's like, it's either, you know, it's like Donald Trump, who people just despise, or let's be socialists. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Well, again, I think ultimately, who do you believe? I mean, the media, I think they should be the ones in jail for reporting slanted news. You look at the news like it's a fact. I could
not agree with you more about that, but keep going.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone says we're all, you know, in this turmoil. Who says we are? Like, again, I don't see a lot of people arguing. I don't see a lot of racism. I don't see a lot of problems in the world. I see everybody getting along. Like when they said we were in a recession, the movie theaters were full, the restaurants were full. I didn't see any recession.
I get it.
Did you?
No.
So who's saying that we're divided?
So we're in perfect.
The Democrats and the Republicans are certainly divided, but that's because supposedly Trump's in there trying to root out the establishment, which is all crooked politicians, and the politicians don't want to be rooted out. Now, that's just what I'm thinking. Why? Well, because he's not a politician. He could be just as dirty as all of them, and it could all be a rouge. Problem is I don't know what's real. Do you?
I don't. What I do know is this, is that part of it, I believe, has to do with the way we get our news these days. Like, social media turns your news feed into an echo chamber of your own beliefs. So if you're a conservative, they'll show you more conservative things, and it just keeps algorithm keeps skewing and skewing and skewing until all you're seeing is people who agree with you vehemently, right? And liberal, same side. So what happens is everyone who's watching the news is like seeing their own crazy, exaggerated version, while typically in all things, the truth lies in the middle somewhere, right? Yeah. And everyone is seeing this exaggerated. The one thing you say, though, that completely I agree with is it's like I don't see the division like in day-to-day interactions. People we get along. What you see is some maniacs from Antifa fighting with some fucking right-wing assholes. Like there's 50 people right here, but it's a country of a few 100 million people. Right? I really wonder how much of the division is manufactured and how much is like, it's almost like, but what's the end game on that? I wonder, like, why is it being done to us, so to speak? Where did it go wrong? Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, I think it's to keep us from being together because it sounds cliche, but united, we stand, and divided, we fall. So if the government, which is an entity, wants to control 300 million people, they have to keep us apart and fighting and arguing and confused and not talking. Because if we all agreed, like for example, I drive up the street 35 mile an hour. I'm like, I've never voted for that speed to be there. Like, have you ever voted for a speed limit?
No.
Who sets them? Who decides that's the law? Aren't we supposed to make the law?
Mothers Against Drunk Driving changed from that. Before that, the speed.
Yeah, but you know what they do? They go in with a bill about, like, let's say rape,
and they throw
other things. You can't rape kids, and everyone's like, "Well, sure, we're all for that."
84 things in there.
Yeah, you just signed off that a bunch of stupid shit no one would have agreed to.
Yeah.
That should be against the law. It should be against the law to. And again, I don't know the whole Biden thing. I stay out of the news, quite frankly. Anything negative, I don't even pay attention to it. Why? Because I believe what goes in your head literally will affect you somehow. So I don't listen to a lot of the shit. And I just stand back.
I think you're probably very conservative fiscally and very socially liberal, right? Is that kind of where you are?
Probably.
Yeah.
But I just want less government.
Yeah. Like libertarian almost.
Yeah. Like, well, it's just the government. Look, when we started this whole thing, right, there was like 3 federal laws. You can't counterfeit money. You can't steal people's cattle or horses. Right. And there was one more. I can't remember what it is. But there's 3.
The right to defend yourself.
Yeah, but now there's thousands of federal laws. And it's like, dude, just like California. Look, if California wants to let you do heroin and provide you needles and you don't like it, then move the fuck out of California.
Right.
Like, let California be California. Mm-hmm. Let Nevada be Nevada, the 50 states, and then collectively we're the United States.
Right.
If I didn't like California, because I don't, with the taxes.
Right, me either.
I move.
And I'm still here.
I'm not mad at California. I fucking love California, but I'm not going to live here.
Right.
So again, does that make me a bad guy? No, I'm just not going to get into it. I'm not going to worry about who's the governor and fight and go down to City Hall and cry because it's not going to matter.
I think that there's a very, very small group of people who are really vocal online. And I think that's it makes it seem like there's all this incredible dissension. It's really like a very, very tiny fraction.
That's my point. I don't think there's all this trouble. I don't think everybody's divided. I think everyone's getting along just fine. I think everything's going to be just fine. And I think the news sensationalizes the polarization of both parties.
We really agree in this, like at the deepest level. You said something else that I agree with, which is that, when there's a recession, what does that really mean? So think of it this way, right?
Apparently there's no money.
No, but let's say the economy contracts 3%. If your income went down 3%, would it really stop you from doing what you're going to do? It's like,
no.
Imagine
just like 3% more wouldn't do anything.
Even the average individual who makes, let's say, $60,000 a year. So, okay, so instead of making $60,000, you make $58,200. Like, think about it. Like, it's not these rent doesn't really work that way anyway. But the point is that they make it. It's almost like we're being fed this narrative. Right? And I wonder who is behind it all. Do you think think there's some evil hand behind this or group behind it? What do you think? Are you a conspiracy man?
In some cases, yes. And in some cases, no. But in that particular case, I do believe there is a evil hand behind it.
And who is that hand?
I would say like the Rothschilds or
I was going to prompt you. Do you think it's the Rothschilds you gave it?
Yeah, I think it's the massively wealthy families that you've never even heard of, most people. because they do exist, and they're massive. And when like they determine interest rates, they determine all kinds of shit, and we're just cattle.
So it's sort of like, globalization, right? What globalization ends up doing is concentrating wealth in the hands of the few. That's the end result of it, is the rich get hyper rich, and you have more. That's what you've seen happen over the last with globalization, right?
Dude, if you redistributed all the wealth evenly to everybody on Earth, it will all go back to the same people.
Yeah.
From
10 years, right?
From habits, mindset, old friends. If me and you were buddies and there's a contract and someone else had a contract, maybe even a little bit better, and you weren't necessarily the one you decided, but it didn't affect you, then you're going to go with me. Why?
Right.
Well, because number one, I'm going to kick you back 50 G's a month for giving me the contract. I mean, if you look at like George Bush's family owns the company, I think it's called ConAgra, that feeds the federal prisons.
Right.
Well, once you're the fucking president, that shouldn't be allowed.
Trust me, I was in prison. I was in jail for those 18 months, and that was the big narrative. The fucking Bush family owns the what was the name of the company back? I'll tell you, it's not ConAgra. It's I forgot the name of that. It was a big.
Or did you have a job in prison?
I paid someone to do my job.
But you had a job?
I did.
How much they pay you an hour?
Like 6 cents an hour.
Okay.
Like
How the fuck's that legal?
Yeah.
See, again, like it's not legal for me as a business owner to offer 6 cents. And by the way, if you'll take 6 cents, well, then you're dumb. And I get to take advantage of that.
Right. Well, you take 6 cents because they'll throw you in the hole if you don't work, unless you can pay someone to do your
dude,
job.
that's against the law.
Yeah, but they do it.
But you're a felon now, so you don't have any rights. And to me,
rights, right.
I think that's why they're making all these federal laws. They want everyone to be disarmed and to follow what they tell you to do.
As a business owner, right? Do you run your business in a way that, like, do you ever like worry about like what's going on politically? You just say, you know what, I can't control that. I'm running my business as a business. I'm assuming everything will always be okay. Or do you sort of change? You have any, like, you don't consider it?
No, like when they're like, taxes are going to increase. Well, then I'll make more money.
Right.
I like the fact that Trump decreased taxes.
Yeah, of course.
And again, I mean, everyone, the Democrats or whoever, because again, the media claims, I'm just going with what the media tells me. The Democrats say that they want to tax the wealthy. Well, why? That's not fair either. Like, if I go out and make $1 billion, why do I got to pay more taxes? Well, because I have more. Well, I think a flat tax would be, like, if I ran for president, and by the way, one day I might, and here's why.
You heard it here first. Brad Lea for president. Let's hear it.
It is true. And the only reason I would do it is because I definitely want to go down in history as a presidential candidate, because you will be in the books if you run, period. And that's the only reason I want to do it, is I want to make sure I'm in the books for some reason.
I want to be your campaign manager.
Well, my platform would be simple. I think power back to the people. I think, flat taxes, like let's say it's 20%, 30%, whatever it is what it is. Oh, you got 6 kids? I don't give a fuck. Oh, well, you got 7 houses? So I don't care what you have. I want 30% of what you make. You would need no accountants. You would need no anything. You would just
flat tax.
Flat X percent.
Doesn't matter based on what you make.
I don't care what you make, and I also don't care what your circumstances are.
Okay.
Period. You make $1 billion, give me 30%. You make $100, give me 30%. But I would also have complete transparency of where that money's going. Because right now, if everybody paid twice as much taxes, it would disappear in a hole of deficit.
Yeah.
It wouldn't pay anything. It would be like there's a burning pot of lava, and everybody's money would be thrown in. It wouldn't even touch the deficit.
The problem with every bureaucracy is that, the administration of whether it's laws or any program is always eaten up by the people administering it. So it never works. In theory, these things make sense and they don't ever play out the right way.
Well, watch this, because this is where I go overboard, but I would do it, or I would try to. I would also not build a wall. I would remove the wall, and I would just take fucking Mexico. I love it down there. And guess what? They apparently can't figure it out. So I'll go down there and we'll make it United States. And then I would go up north to Canada and knock that fucking wall down, and I'd take Canada too. And so now we're just America. period.
Oh, okay.
So any of the
I think I saw in some like dystopian science fiction movie. It was like,
well, dude, if everybody from Mexico is trying to run across the border because there's not enough down there, well, lift up the wall and let the wealth flow down that way. Dude, there's a lot of beach property people would buy. There's a lot of commerce that would take place. And by the way, the Mexican is one of the hardest working people I've ever met. So like, dude, they would give them jobs, farming, construction. Like, why not just lift the wall and quit calling it two different countries? And why keep them out?
And how about Canada?
Canada, same thing. I'd just take them. They ain't got an army. I just like Canada.
You don't like Canada?
I do like Canada.
I like Canadians. They're good people.
Yeah, I like them all. But what's the difference?
Yeah, well, I mean,
there is no difference.
Yeah.
I would just take Canada. And I would take Mexico. I would say, we're America. And if you guys don't like it, get out. Now watch this. If you don't pay your taxes, okay, I'm not going to put you in jail. If you don't pay your taxes, I'm going to kick you out of the fucking country. Like, you don't want to pay your way?
Go live in Africa.
Live somewhere else.
Uganda. Go live in fucking Europe.
Right. And I would close our borders once I took Canada and Mexico. And I would close our borders. And guess what? Like, dude, anybody that wants into this country is fine. Just apply like legal. But the point is all my money would stay here. I would stay out of all this foreign politics.
What if Mexico said no?
What can they do about it?
What can they do, right? What would you do? Just invade?
Yeah, just fucking take it.
A few tanks.
Dude, what can they do? They can't even handle the cartel. They definitely can't handle the U.S. military.
Machiavelli said, very easy to conquer, very hard to control. So yeah, I think we could easily conquer Canada or Mexico, but then you have the people. How do you manage those people if they don't want to be there, right?
They do want to be there.
Probably not all of them.
What do you mean?
Unless if you were president, you could probably sell them and convince them to want to be here.
Definitely would sell them. But why are they trying to come across the border?
Well, they're not all trying to come across the border.
They're not all trying, but some of them are smart enough to realize it's not a good life being an illegal alien. But then again, they jump across the border. What for? Because they think this is the land of the opportunity. Right. So if the border was not there, that would solve the problem.
Okay.
Now down in Tijuana, they have their own laws. Well, they're going to have to abide by ours.
Or get the fuck out, right? What about, so
I don't know. And again, I'm not a politician. I'm just thinking.
What about what about the countries that border on the southern border of Mexico or Latin America? How about those people?
We'll take them all.
Take them all.
Might as well. Why not?
As long as they're at it?
No, realistically, Mexico.
Yeah. And then we put up a wall up at the southern border of Mexico so they can't then cross into Mexico? Like, where does it stop?
You know what? I'd have to think
that
about
went
this.
through?
Yeah, I'd have to think about this.
That requires deeper thought.
Yeah, I might have to take them all the way down to Brazil.
Now, Canada, by the way, you see, saying Canada, they're just pussies. They're not going to fire a shot.
Well, they don't have an army.
They don't have an army. They have an army. They have some mounted police there, don't they? Like
the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Right.
Like, that's it. That's why nobody bothers Canadians, because they're not going to do anything. They stay out of everything because they can't do anything. They have no army.
This is like, we have a new political party forming here. It's called, I'm trying to think.
Common sense.
What movie was this? It's like something in like 2050. This is going to actually happen, you know?
Well, it's like, look, I mean, these term limits, there should be term limits. Obviously, that's how these old boy networks are in there. That's how these old backroom deals are happening.
I agree. And even worse than that is the incestuous relation between lobbying and politics.
Lobbying should be against the law.
Right.
Against the law, period.
Everyone believes that.
Not to mention, like, when you serve and you get laws passed, when you come back from that community service, because that's what it is, you should have to live by the same laws that you empowered and you created. They don't do that, you know.
What are your thoughts on immigration?
What about it? I think they should do it legally. I mean, again, like, if you go to, for example, Mexico and you get caught there illegally, they will put you in jail. And you don't want to be there in jail. You don't want to be anywhere in jail. But what's the difference?
They lock you in a room and throw away the room, basically.
Yeah, but what's the difference between U.S. and everywhere else? Like, I've been to countries that they won't even let you in without a visa.
Yeah.
And if you're caught without a visa in that country, you're in deep shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the difference? I think if you want to come to the U.S., get in line,
get it.
apply legally, and come in legally. I don't think you should be denied unless you're like a scumbag or a rapist or have some history. But I think anyone should be able to come in, but they should come in legally.
I think the problem with the U.S. is like this almost like apologetic, like overtone being winners, that we feel like we have to be like, more compassionate than anybody else, or almost like we feel like we because we've dominated the world for so long, there's almost like this guilt complex that I think is very much part of the liberal equation here, like of reparations for fucking everything. I'll tell you this, for instance, like, I have 3 children, right? I put them all through college, spent God knows how much money. You know how fucking pissed I'd be if they forgave student loans? I want my money back. So what do you think when you hear that stuff? Do you listen to the debates at all like that? Or you don't listen?
Well, I mean,
here and there, it's hard to listen to, right? But what do you think about this whole thing about free healthcare for illegal immigrants, right?
No, I think if you're an illegal immigrant, you get nothing. No driver's license, no healthcare, nothing. 100%.
Yeah,
because you're here illegally,
right? I don't understand. I really find it difficult to accept the other side's argument for that. Like, you're an illegal immigrant. You shouldn't be here. I'm all for legal immigration. All for it.
How about an amnesty period, for example? So if you're here illegally right now, go down immediately. You have X amount of days to file and do the thing. We'll give you rights if you've been here and you're working and you have family. I
disagree.
It gets tough when, for example, like, let's say I illegally came in here, but I met a U.S. Woman, and now we have a baby.
I have a different take. I'm 50-50 with you. I believe, yes, amnesty, go down there, and then serve 2 fucking years in the military.
That's another thing.
And then,
but you know what I do?
You want to be a citizen? Go 2 years in the military. You're a citizen. Congratulations.
Thank you. That and or prisoners. Like, I would go to the prisons before I send any convict. I'd send them to war first. I'd say, hey, look, you guys want to redeem yourselves?
So
like, will you come back?
You mean non-violent, non-rape? Yeah,
I don't really. Well, yeah, obviously, no. If they're bad.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, like, there's
drug offenders.
There's people in prison. Well, like you went to prison, dude. I would have said, dude, here, take a weapon, go over there, and when you come back, you're fucking free, just like you never did shit. Why? Well, because you went and risked your life for us. Right. To me, that's payment enough.
And that's what I believe should be the illegal immigrants right now. Give them an amnesty, come in, go work military, 2 years service.
I like
citizenship.
That. I like that deal.
So I could be your vice president then with that platform.
You should be president. I'll be your vice.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna ever run. It's so brutal politics.
I'm literally gonna run.
When? We want to hear it first. What's the date?
Probably. I won't run. Obviously this term or next election. So probably the one after that. Maybe the one after that. 12 years from now. No.
Or 2024.
Probably 2028.
2028. So 2020.
I got to make $1 billion first so I can afford it. See, that's another thing. You shouldn't be able to raise campaign contributions. Like, dude, put your hat in the ring and go fucking run around telling people what you believe and let the people vote who they want.
Let's switch subjects for a second, right? I want to go back to business, right? 2 sides to the equation. Tell me if you agree or not, right? You have the inner game mindset, then you have skill set, right? You agree with that, right?
Yep.
How important do you think is mindset in business?
I believe massively important.
So do you think someone could be successful just through skills or without having also the mindset of success? I mean, let me put it this: what percentage of people out there that you think are really being held back by having sort of a negative, or let's say a non-entrepreneurial, non-success mindset? You think it's common, or
all of them?
All of them.
Yeah, like anyone who's not succeeding, I think 99.9% is because of their mindset.
So for people that are watching this podcast, average age, there's people of all ages, but we have a huge viewership under 40, right? What would you say to someone? Like, what's the first thing? Let's say, let's call this your training, we'll call it your first million. What do? You don't like your job. It's dead end kind of, right? You kind of feel like you're a gerbil on a freaking treadmill, right? What do? What does a kid, young guy, young girl, woman do? How do you go about, kind of changing your life and start living again versus just surviving? Well,
number one, you change your mindset, because a lot of people believe that you need all this money to be considered successful, when in reality, success is one's own opinion, right? So I know a guy that goes out and gets laid every weekend and, he thinks he's successful. Well, I don't think that's successful.
Sure.
So therefore, who's right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a perspective, it's a mindset. So, but to answer your question that most people want to hear, what would I have them do? I would have them continue working and save their money and learn from someone like you or someone that knows what they're doing based on where they want to go. If I could start all over, I would seek knowledge faster.
Step one fundamental.
I would have done that a long time ago. Like if I could redo it, I would have seek knowledge faster, find a mentor. Back in the old days, dude, there was masters and apprentices. And that went a long way back in those days. So like you wanted to learn a trade, you had to sit there and bust your ass for free in some cases for the person as the master blacksmith, or they were the really, really good ones. You'd have to go work for free for 5 or 10 years to pick up their skills, and now you became capable of making that money. I think that still applies. But if I could start all over and I was 20 again, I would seek knowledge faster, find a mentor for sure, and then I would invest money more wisely. Too many people are worried about impressing others that's just a...
Meaning investing money, maybe not buying a super expensive car, maybe investing in real estate or just in a business or in yourself, essentially.
Anything that provides cash flow.
Okay.
So like I've spent so much money trying to impress people. If I had it back, it would be impressive. So I blew a lot of money. If I just had that money, I've blown being cool, the cars, the houses, the whatnot. And I'm preaching to the choir. If your movie's even this much accurate, you did twice as bad as me.
Yeah.
But it also depends on how much you had. I never had hundreds of millions of dollars, but I've made a lot, and I should have invested it wisely. Sure. So I think school affects us. But if someone's listening to this right now, what would I do to make my first million? I would find a mentor, and I would focus and realize one thing, that everything boils down to choices. Everything boils down to choices. Every day, the choices you make determine the road you'll take.
When I think it was Ed Milet was on my podcast. I like Ed, right? He's very smart. He said the biggest mistake that young people make is they try to monetize their passion versus monetizing what they're actually good at. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, Ed Milet, I'll listen to him before me right now. But
no, you understand
I don't necessarily agree. I don't agree. Because again, I mean, like if you're passionate about something and you can monetize it, then that's even better. Mm-hmm. Why? Well, because you're passionate about it. However, I think what Ed meant by that is, your passion isn't always the thing you should be trying to make money at. And a lot of people say, follow your heart, do what you're passionate about. And they don't know how to monetize it, or they don't make any money. So Ed's basically
maybe
saying,
it's not monetizable, really. Some things are just hard to monetize.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, like if I'm a 6'7" kick-ass basketball player, but my passion is freaking...
Ballet?
Yeah, it's ballet. I should go play basketball and then do ballet on the side.
Right.
I think that's what he meant, by the way, which is like...
That's what he meant. Yeah.
Focus on what you're good at also.
Well, let's focus on certain things inherently are just more monetizable. They just are. Like I always said, like Wall Street, here's my take on, I've lived on both coasts, right? So the beating heart of New York, the East Coast, is Wall Street, finance, right? The beating heart of the West Coast is what? Arts and entertainment, movies, TV, right? Right? The difference is that even the secretaries in New York on Wall Street, they're overpaid. Like everyone, there's a lot more money that trickles down. Average person on Wall Street, even a scrub broker could make $600,000-$700,000 a year. In Hollywood, a struggling actor, you know what they make? Zero. Like it's like poverty, right? So what you find is, like I found, is that certain industries, finance, real estate, information, training, it's just lucrative. It's easy to make money in certain industries. Other industries just inherently more difficult. So the top earner is not going to make as much, and all the underlings are barely scraping by. So would you choose something like, for instance, if you let's say you had a kid, right? A boy, 22.
I do. I have two of them.
You have two. What would you direct them to do? Like like you think about the influencer model. You think like you should try to be an influencer. Like what do you think? Because we live in a different world these days where people are famous for the sake of being famous.
Well, now that I'm getting to be an old feller, my answer would be different. And now it would be, look, as long as they're happy, then that's what they should do. I believe, like for me, I can't be happy without money.
Myself the same.
So I need money. So when people say like, well, follow happiness instead of money, I say do both. Follow both.
Money's a problem to be solved.
Yeah.
Like I've been rich, I've been happy as hell. I've been rich and been miserable. I've been poor and miserable. I've never been poor and happy. Never. I can't be poor and happy.
Well, I mean, I could be happy at times, poor. Like if I were poor and found out, I thought someone died, but they didn't. So I'm happy for a minute, but no. Like,
you know what I mean? I'm talking about long-term.
I need money and people need to quit saying, money's not important, because it is. And you better get some. And the way you get some is real easy. Solve people's problems. Like look for problems. How many people avoid problems when they should be looking for them? Like ask somebody, walk up to anybody and be like, you want a problem? They're going to be like, no. Why wouldn't you? Like, I love problems. Problems are like challenges and they're like games. And if you get really good at solving problems, you're going to get paid more. If I can solve your problems right now, name any problem you have, I can solve them. Dude, you're going to fucking write me a check. Yes or no?
Of course.
So get really good at solving problems and make a business out of it. It's not hard to make money. And I believe that, which is why it's not hard for me to make money. Now there's some people in their minds, they think, I'm not educated, or, I was abused, and they're limiting their abilities. And there's proof of this where like literally plastic surgeon goes in and changes somebody's face and their self-esteem and their self-worth. They're now all of a sudden, they don't have this problem that they used to have. Now all of a sudden they still mentally are fucked up. Why is that? It's the internal, dude. It's their mind. It's their limiting self-belief.
This is the problem you see a lot. I even had myself when I was very young. When I got rich at 23, I said, "Oh, if I just get rich, all my problems will be solved." And then you get rich, and you're still the same person. You're like, "Fuck, what do I do now?" It's almost a panic sets in. So people like Lindsay Lohan, they implode, these young stars, because they while you're clawing your way up, if you're not happy, you're like, "All right, I'm not happy because I don't have all the things that I think I need to be happy. Once I become rich and famous, then I'll be happy." Then you get there, you're like, "Uh-oh, I'm still the same person." That's when the panic.
Yeah, wherever you go,
you bring yourself with you, right? You bring yourself. What do you think? So you built Lightspeed now, right? And guys, really check out this platform. Put the link on the bottom here. So you do. How many companies now do you have on how many different trainings, different,
Well, we have a couple million users with thousands and thousands of companies on it currently.
Okay.
But I personally have, I'd say about 1,200 clients now.
Active clients.
Yeah. Clients. So again, like one of my clients might have thousands of businesses.
Sure.
But I have about 1,200, but it's growing. I've never marketed Lightspeed. Like I usually am all word of mouth. Everyone that I've ever like focused on, I've gotten. Like, before I spoke with you, I said, dude, I'm going to go get Jordan Belfort.
Right.
It took me like 3 to 4 years to finally get to you. When you were running around doing your seminars, people were approaching you talking about it. And you were like, go talk to so-and-so, because they were coming back saying, yeah, I got in front of him, but he said, so like Tony Robbins took me like 7 years to get to him. Finally got to him. You know how I closed Tony? He said, he just kept wanting to, because, Tony's obviously at another level than most people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, height-wise, especially.
Well, he really truly wants to make impact.
Yeah, no, he does.
So when I was leaving his house after his, third no,
mm-hmm.
I said, Tony, let me ask you a question. How many people come to your events? And he said, 10,000. And I said, what about the other 7 billion people? And that's what closed him.
Right.
He's like, son of a bitch. I never really thought of it that way. Because again, he wants to help people. So I use fear of loss. Like, dude, you want to help all these people. You're only helping 10,000 at a time. What about all the other 7 billion? And that was what got him in. So at the end of the day, like if I were to tell my sons, advice, my advice to them, and I do tell them, is to be happy, because I'll make sure that they have money. They don't need money. What they need is ethics and morals and a family and principles and happiness, meaning just be happy. Like, dude, if I could be happy with no money, I'd quit my job and I'd go live in a fucking tent.
Got it.
But I can't be. Not seeing you fucking in a Ferrari. Like, I got to have one.
I get it. We're out of this cup, the same place. Guys, listen, we're going to go now. We're going to end the visual on YouTube here. We're going to keep going for another 10 minutes on the audio platform. Check it out on iTunes or Spotify. You can find us there wherever you listen to podcasts, right? Now we're going to talk about some stuff that we probably shouldn't talk about on YouTube or else it's going to get banned. We go to the dirty, devilish stuff here. We'll keep going for 10 minutes. Guys, share this podcast with your friends. Like it if you like it. Hate it if you hate it. Make sure you click on the next one too, because it's awesome. These are really great.